Hello and welcome to another live dispatch from home. I'm Marcus Luscombe, the Director of Production here at ArtistWorks. For anyone unfamiliar with who ArtistWorks is, we're an online music instruction company. We work with 37 world-renowned musicians who recorded entire video curriculums for us with designed for players of all levels. And you can also interact with them directly via video exchange and get personal feedback on your playing. And so these shows that we do each week, the goal is just to bring a little bit of a musical oasis to you at home. And today we are fortunate to be joined by Craig Chee and Sarah Maisel, who are the ukulele instructors at ArtistWorks. And they're also bringing on special guest Neal Chen today. And throughout the broadcast, we'd like to encourage you to join the conversation. Let us know where you're from, where you're watching from. And if you have any questions for any of the guests, just go ahead and post them there and we'll be taking questions later. And we always kick these off with a musical performance. So please welcome Craig and Sarah.
Oh, I'm not ready yet. I'm still trying to copy the link.
Well, let's play and copy the link later.
Okay. All right. I think I'm unmuted. I think we're good. Oh my gosh, you'd think this is something we do normally. All right, Sonia.
Yeah.
We gotta learn more songs. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2.
On the doorstep, just direct your feet to the sunny side of the street. Great to hear that pitter-pat, and a happy tune is your step. Life is so on the sunny side of the street. I used to walk in the shade with my boots on parade, but this road was crossed over. If I never ever had a cent, I'd be rich as Rockefeller. Gold dust in my feet on the sunny side of the street. shade with my blues on parade. But I'm not afraid. This rover has crossed on over, y'all. If I ever had a cent, I'd be rich as Rockefeller. Gold dust at my feet on the sunny side. The sunny side. On the sunny side of the streets. Woo!
All right.
Oh my gosh.
Very nice, guys.
Thank you.
So hello and welcome. It's good to see you both.
Likewise,
Wonderful to
likewise.
see you.
And for anybody that is unfamiliar with the two of you, where are you checking in from today?
Honolulu, Hawaii.
I'll be back in just a second. I'm gonna do this. And this.
All right. Very cool. Well, we are also
Yes.
joined today by another one of your special friends that you've brought along with us for us all to enjoy the company of. Everybody, let's introduce Neal Chen.
Oh, hey.
Sorry.
There he is.
I had to
Hi,
to
Neal,
grab
and
a
welcome.
rag. It's so hot, and I've been lectured that I can't have the AC on or the fan, so I'm
It's
just
so
like
loud, that's why.
melting. The things we do for you, Marcus. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, during sound check,
Oh
they had
my
the air
gosh.
conditioning running, and I'm sure they were much more comfortable, but it sure was
And
noisy.
a fan.
For your musical enjoyment, we've got the fans
our
off and it's
sacrifices,
a little hot.
Our sacrifices. I cannot believe it. Oh my gosh. But yes, and we decided, Neal would be such a fun guest. Neal is an amazing performer and instructor, and we've dragged him along on a bunch of our events, like our uke cruises and retreats, and he's going to be one of the featured guests when we finally do have our next ukulele retreat here in Hawaii. That's later, hopefully next year. But yeah, lots of fun things. Even though he plays low G, we still like him. It's okay.
We can still be friends.
We can still be friends. Yeah.
That's what Byron Yasui said to me. Because I first met him when I played mostly low G. And he took my uke and he hit it and went, oh, I guess we could still be friends.
It's too good.
Yeah.
Well, Neal, would you be up for playing something for us?
Oh, it just happens to be my favorite thing to do. So I'd be more than happy to do
You seem well equipped right there. So. Yeah, let's turn it over to you.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I'm so unprepared. Okay. Watching too many movies, folks. Yeah, let's take this one out for a spin. Let's play this really. It's a fun one. A song called All the Things You Are. Well, thank you. Okay, here we go. Yeah, something like that. Little all the things you are.
Beautiful.
Hey,
Very nice.
thank you.
Yay!
Such a good song.
All right.
I love that song.
Hey, there he is.
Can you hear anything different?
Yes. So
Is it how bad is it?
it's how hot is it?
I am like melting.
Okay, let's live with it. we need Craig to be comfortable.
Yes. Notice how
Yes.
he's the only one with a fan.
Says the one that was sitting underneath the AC. You know, so.
Which honestly is the most freezing spot
Oh my
ever.
gosh.
Marcus, do you remember when we were working on the SERP program and I was doing all of those exercises and everything, notating it? So I was here, and the computer I was using was right in front of the AC, and Craig had it running because, again, it was melting hot here, and he was doing a bunch of photo editing. And so I'm like huddled up with a blanket, freezing, writing out notation the whole time. You just never know.
Yeah. Well, we want everyone to be comfortable because I'm gonna ask for some more music later, and so we want you at your
Yes.
best, Craig. So,
Okay.
well, let's before we check in with, we've got a lot of folks tuning in and saying hi from around the planet here. But before we say hi to everyone else, I was just curious if you could let us know how you all know each other. What's your background together?
You want to
We
take
met Neal. Was it before you moved to you? No.
it? Was after.
It was after.
It was after. I want to say like I count like formally meeting you folks. I feel like at Oak Ridge because that was like the first time we got to like talk story and stuff. You know.
Right.
Oh yeah,
But-
yeah.
But before you guys did come through when I was still working at Pacific Winds too, in Eugene,
Yeah.
Oregon, and did a workshop concert, and I think that was the first time that we ever met.
Yeah.
Yeah, in Eugene, Oregon.
Yes. Because that's where Craig lived. I convinced him to move to San Diego. He moved, and just you guys like totally crossed each other
Right,
because you moved to Eugene right at that time.
right. Like within
And then-
months, like a month or something like that, even.
Yeah.
I think so.
And then the other cool thing was you were deciding that you wanted to move somewhere else at some point, a couple
Right.
years after, I think.
Yes.
And
yes.
so
Yeah, that's right.
we just said on a lark, we were like, why don't you just come visit us? And I forget, was
Yes.
it a weekend or a week that you stayed with us?
Yeah, that was good. It was a weekend. It was a weekend. I was how do you call that? I was living in LA for a couple of months with some friends in that year, and yeah, before heading back up to the Northwest, you're like, hey, you're so close. You should stop in, and that was probably one of the best things I ever did. I mean, you know.
I just remember it was so much
go.
fun and so productive. Like
Yeah.
that was the other awesome thing.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
Yeah.
Yep.
And we were like, why don't you have an album yet?
Right.
And
That was the
and then
thing.
Craig called our friend
That's right.
who was in Eugene.
Hmm.
And was like, okay, you two talk here.
And within
that's
a
how that
week,
album happened.
yeah, Ukulele Paintings was done tracking. Like literally went to
That's
Eugene and that
amazing.
weekend tracked the whole thing, basically. And
It's a
layered some
great
new stuff
album.
after. But yeah, it's kind of crazy to think about.
Now,
That's so
isn't that what's unreal about all of this too? Is the understatement that Eugene, Oregon, is such an incredible spot for ukulele, right? I mean that you know,
Yeah.
going to school, as a duck, like I that was not any part of the reason why I went, but once we explored the area and whatnot, and finding that there are all these different clubs and they hosted, the Eugene Oktoberfest. I mean, it was just incredible to have that support and inspiration. Yeah, it was awesome. It's something that is just would not have thought.
Yeah, that was my experience moving. Long story short, I moved to Eugene, and I didn't know anybody or anything like that, and so I had to make quick friends. And of course, I said, okay, well, I should first go to the music shop. And then I heard they had like an ukulele event. It was like within like a month of me moving there. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was Ukuleles, the group Ukuleles, that was
Yes,
putting on an
yes.
event in the parking lot of Pacific Winds. And just like, I was living a couple blocks away, so I just walked over and yeah, played a song. I remember, like, just on a whim. And yeah, the rest is history. Point being, add to what you're saying, is that the community there is amazing,
Yeah.
and still is. And oh my goodness, yeah, I get emotional just thinking about them because they're lovely people.
That's
Yeah.
so
They
cool.
are.
Well, let's say hi to some folks that have checked in here.
Yeah,
We've
that's
got
awesome.
people checking in from all over the place. I'm going to throw some up here on the screen.
Yay!
Hi, Susan.
Lansing. We love Lansing.
Yes, Lansing
Oh,
is the
yes.
best.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's awesome.
North
North
Carolina
Carolina.
checking in.
Aloha.
Hello.
Nice.
North Carolina. That's not where. Is that where the school, the university?
Yeah, that's for California Ukulele. No, sorry, no. North Carolina Ukulele Academy.
Yes, that's it. That was a fun,
love them.
fun event. That was a great location.
Nice.
Aloha, Glenview.
Hello,
Aw.
Jack.
Hey,
Awesome.
what's up, Jack?
Sherry.
Oh,
Shan-
Sherry.
Hey, Sherry.
Awesome, Sherry. We all know Sherry.
Yes, we do.
Oh my gosh,
Hello.
Melanie. Aloha. Say hi to your mom.
Gina checking in from Connecticut.
Very cool. Hi, Gina.
Howdy, howdy.
That is a cute.
I love getting to see folks. Oh, hey, Rick.
Nice.
Oh, awesome.
Well, like the Beatles in the background.
Thank you guys for tuning in.
Oh,
It's
Paul, what's up, Paul?
He didn't say hi to you, Neil.
Yeah, I know. Oh, we're in
Hi,
the same
Catherine.
Springfield, Illinois.
Awesome, Brian.
It's Springfield in the house. Hey.
Oh my gosh, hey, Bob.
What's up, Bob?
He's wearing Craig's favorite shirt
I know,
in
I
his
love
profile
that
picture.
That's the complicated one, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Aw, she.
Hi, Sherry.
Oh my god.
Kathy. Hello.
I did
Oh,
one of
very
your VEs
cool.
a couple of days ago.
Nice.
Nice.
Hi, Emily.
Hey.
This is so
Gresham.
cool.
Where is Gresham again? I forget. Is it north of Eugene? Or I forget.
I don't know my
passed
Oregon
through.
well enough.
Ooh, Prescott.
Hi, Deb.
Prescott.
Nice.
And how
Look at
about
my
this
brother.
one?
My brother lives in Prescott.
Here, this one's for you, Neil.
Aw.
Hey. Love you too, Paul. Love you too.
You know, we have so many here. We could do this all night, I think. So why don't we move it along? I'll keep putting a few of
Oh,
these
no.
up, but I'm just curious
Awesome.
to hear what you guys have been working on lately. What's the latest for y'all?
Gosh, there's so much
Oh,
going on.
we would spend more time. Not. I mean, there's. Okay, so it's so everyone during this time had a choice, right? With the pandemic, with all of these things that were just so uncertain, we had two choices. You could either continue to do what you could do in light of all these changes and just focus on when things go back to normal, or you can push yourself out of your comfort zone and really innovate and try new things. And there was a point where we looked at each other and said, okay, we just we have to look ahead. We have to try something new. We have to experiment a little bit more, because again, we were watching this thing unfold, and things looked like it was going to get worse, and we've, and so there was a point too that we saw our friends who weren't as fortunate as us. We've been very fortunate. We've always said, because of Artist Works and because of our online community, we've been very stable. We've been able to survive and be okay. And there are a lot of people that relied on gigs, relied on the travel, and with that shutting down, one of the big things was to kind of push more online and create space and create virtual venues for our friends. And that has been kind of the theme of the year, right? And it's just to keep pushing forward and give yourself a chance to try things you've never done before. So, we've done a ton of different live stream events throughout the year. We've done some really cool things with Artist Works students themselves, where I did a Zoom meeting where we helped give critiques on like their camera and audio setup, on performance feedback, and I'm gonna plan to do a few more before the year is over. But I love trying new things. You never know what works and until you try it. And so we have a bunch of other things coming up. We have like a live stream this Sunday.
Yes, our live stream this Sunday is going to be a lot of fun. It is Craig's going over a chord melody for Meli Kaliki Maka. And that's actually something that we taught at Artist Works last year. And so we thought that we would go ahead and
make that one
make that one sort of public.
So we'll do another special one just for Artist Works students though this year.
Yes, I'm going to be recording a new lesson for our students either this week or next week, because there's a new Christmas song that we want to give to our students. So we have that live stream on the 6th at 12:30 Pacific time, and that's going to be a lot of fun. And then we also have there's a holiday performance thing we're doing on the 12th with our friend Cynthia Lynn and Ukulele. Then on the 18th and 19th, there's a really fun Christmas event that we're doing with our friends James Hill and Anjanelle, Heidi Swedberg, Daniel Ward. And the cool thing about that one, they're doing something really neat where it's an advent calendar of videos. So every day you're going to get a new video. But I actually need to step away for a moment because the baby has just woken up. So I will be right back.
No. Yeah, and so, with all of that plus like pretty much everything. I mean, what we're going to be hosting a few of our friends doing some workshops. We'll be doing some projects with Hiroboto Jr. And I think we're hosting a workshop with Jake Shibakura on the 18th or 18th. The 18th, yes. So we'll be hosting a workshop for him, which should be a lot of fun. Yeah, so there's some. Oh, and the big thing that was just released, I think, this past week, is that we were given the reins to the amazing Ukulele Festival of Hawaii, and that's been going on for 50 years. So we're starting to already plan for that and have some mini events leading up to the big. For this year, it'll be virtual, but already planning for 2022. So I mean, there's all these. I miss sleep. But yeah, we're having a blast, and again, very fortunate to be able to be involved with so many different amazing things.
Yeah, it's so great you're keeping so active during this time, and really awesome that you were able to pivot like that. And for anyone that's not an Artist Works student, you I'll say that you're two of our most tech savvy teachers out there. You've really embraced this whole video streaming sort of thing. So thanks for all of that as well. And for people that want to check out all those dates that you just mentioned, what's the best way to get in touch with you and find information on that?
CraigandSarah.com. Everything is listed on our calendar there, and we'll have more information when we get, especially for the Hawaii treat with Neal. and when the cruise industry kind of gets safe again, we'll talk about that too. That's always a blast. So yeah.
Yeah. And how about you, Neil? Do you have anything that you're working on currently?
You know, I really appreciated what you said, Craig, earlier, because I felt very similarly too. And recently I've been trying to develop new skills. That's kind of where, since with like a lot of this extra time at home and whatnot, it's been really nice to practice and like finally like get through a handful of things that I've been meaning to do, arrangements and stuff like that. So it's been quite lovely. But one of the things that I admit, is keeping me sane, and I see a couple of friends in the chat here too, is I've been doing these streams on Monday mornings, just at 10 o'clock, and
They're awesome.
It's really casual, just find a topic. Lately, especially been kind of more leaning towards education. So, find a topic to talk about, and really it's just talk story, with some examples and stuff like that. So it's been really fun. It's been really fun doing those, and really rewarding to see all your names pass by and whatnot. I wish I could see y'all in person,
No,
But it's
your
been
Monday streams are
lovely.
fantastic, man. They really, really
Thank you.
are. Yeah, a lot of thought that goes behind the scenes, but you make it feel like it's just completely impromptu. I mean, a lot of it is, but there's a reason. There's things that
Yeah.
you're building upon, which is always awesome to see.
Nice. Oh, that's good. And one of the other fun things too, right, is like working through all of this camera lighting and stuff like that. And thanks, Craig. Yeah.
That
So
was
thank you
one
for that.
thing that we were so glad that we could help. Various friends actually contacted us, and Craig was able to help out various friends of ours with their lighting and their sound and things, just to sort of get everybody up as quick as they can, so that they could get going and keep doing their craft.
Right. I
I
mean,
mean,
you
you
guys
could
had
be
that
the-
festival the 2 weeks, right? Like that was like right
Oh,
within
yeah.
a month. Like that's,
Yeah.
I don't know. I think
We
that's
did
pretty
it.
incredible.
Yeah, I think it was 2 weeks.
Well,
Yeah,
as you know, I mean, you could be like the most amazing musician, but if your video feed is like sideways and shaky and audio cutting in and out, like, is anyone gonna stay to watch?
Yeah, I agree.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, and Marcus, I gotta say too, like, yes, I had a background in some of this stuff before Artist Works, but working with you guys really did help a lot. It made me think of different things, especially from a student point of view. So there's a lot of things I loved and picked up on, and took like a million mental notes every time we would go up and record different segments and whatnot. So thank you guys for that too, because you guys are super efficient. A lot of people think that Artist Works is like a team of like 30 to 50 people, because there's so many different elements that go into it. And how many core people are there really?
I think there's less than a dozen, and
Yeah.
when we
Yeah, you guys work hard.
when we do a production like filming, it's everybody wears many hats at the company, but
Yeah.
when we do filming, like for example, when you come up to the studio, it's a very small crew every time. So yeah,
Yeah.
we always love having you up too, and feel free to take as many notes as you like. But without going any further, I feel like another introduction is necessary here.
Yes. This young man. Hi, Cameron, can you say hi?
Somebody.
Hello. Hi, everybody. This is our son, Cameron. He is say hi. Are you looking at the monitor? He is 11 months old. He'll be a year in January. So we're so fortunate. This year actually was a year that we had planned not to really do much traveling. So like we already had that kind of set. And then when everything went down with the pandemic, we were just like, well, we only had I think 2 or 3 gigs that canceled, because that's all we had. Because we wanted to stay home and be with him. So now we're here in Hawaii, because we were in San Diego, California. And then this year, with just everything going on, we said, we'd been talking about moving to Hawaii, and then it just kind of hit us where we said, you know what, let's just do it. 90% of Craig's family is here. Mine's all spread out, so it's like, let's go to a place where Cameron can be surrounded. Hi, Cameron can be surrounded by family, and also just musically, this is the place for ukulele, and we get to hang out with hang out with our friends and things here, and work on more music, which is really exciting.
Very cool. Well, it'd be really great to have some more music at this time. Who feels up for playing?
So maybe Neal, because Sarah and baby in lap.
Oh,
Yeah, different babies on different laps. So,
And Neal, I figured, one of the great things that you can do during this time is, work on your high G a little bit. I think that'll be fantastic.
and Neal, before we kick it over to you for the song, somebody's posted a question here about your tone. So maybe you could comment on that before you play.
Well, that's first of all mighty sweet of you to say, Rebecca. That's mighty sweet of you. If I have to take it in the broadest stroke, I would say it's attention to detail. And one of the things that I find that's really nice is just kind of playing around with like different places on the fretboard, not on the fretboard, across the body with the right hand, and never underestimate a good little filing down of your nails, to kind of get a good angle too, If you have a large surface area on your fingers, it really helps help get a rounded tone. Instead of if you have like a point, it tends to be a little bit more brittle. So instead of so just a slight difference. So, yeah, that's what I'd say. Well, let me give you an example here. Let's see if I can do this ukulele some justice and maybe utilize that low G a little bit. Well, let's try this one. A song that I wrote called Karatoba. Speaking of which, two of my favorite people in the world who live in Eugene, Oregon. A song I wrote about them. Song called Karatoba.
Fantastic.
Hey, well,
very nice.
Thank you. It's kind of like I'm a big lover of slack key music. And two of my friends actually in Eugene, Oregon are we call them slackers, big slackers too. They like playing Hawaiian slack key music too. And so I thought that was a nice homage to them, being slack key lovers. So try to kind of imitate a little bit of the vocabulary that happens with that style of music.
That's very cool.
Yeah, it's fun.
And is that recorded on one of your albums? If people
Why,
want to
yes,
go check that out,
yes, it is. Yes, it. Speaking of which, that was that album that
That's the-
that we recorded within that week. So the album's called Ukulele Paintings, and it should be on most available major streaming services, and you can pick up a copy on my website too.
that's so cool.
Yeah.
Well, it looks like they're just doing a quick computer reboot. We are in the world of technology, so we are,
Of course.
sometimes having to deal with that. But would you mind playing something else for us while we wait
absolutely.
for Craig and
No, I
Sarah to
would-
jump back in? Here?
Well, let me tell you, if you give a ham a microphone, they're gonna keep going, So I'm gonna keep going.
You got one more in there?
I can squeeze out. No, let's do. Oh, okay. Just in the spirit of kind of largely what I do. I'm mostly an improviser and kind of work on different strategies and things like that to improvise, just because I like to speak what I think, for better or for worse sometimes. So I'm going to improvise for you folks a little kind of fun little melody that I play in the key of G, little 1-6-2-5-y thing. We'll see where it goes. I know, yeah. Let's see if we can do this. There we go. A little something like that.
Beautiful. That was fantastic.
Yeah.
Cameron, you might not have been able to see it, but he was actually dancing during it.
Aw. Hey, what's up,
Yeah.
buddy? What's up?
We've got a lot of supportive comments coming in for you on that one, Neal. Very nice.
Aw,
And
yeah,
here's a
sweet.
question for all of you, which is taking you right back to the beginning. What
Oh,
got you
hey.
into the ukulele?
Nice.
Oh,
Couldn't afford a guitar? No.
That's funny. Good answer.
Those extra 2 strings, expensive.
Oof,
man.
yeah, I tell you. Nah.
Well, Neal and I grew up in Hawaii, so it's different for us. But I think Sarah probably has the most interesting story behind.
speaking for Neal.
I mean, it's like, I grew up in Hawaii and started playing the ukulele. Very original.
You know that
I mean-
kind of does sound alright. No.
I mean, there is much more to it than that. But
Yes.
like in the grand scheme of things, right? It's
Right.
we are much more prone to experience the ukulele early and have that be more of an option, right? Compared to someone who grew up in Alabama.
Yeah. So I grew up
So,
in
right.
Birmingham, Alabama, and had never heard Hawaiian music, had never heard the ukulele, and I moved out to California sight unseen in 2000. 2004. And it was honestly very lonely. I knew no one, no family, nothing. And where I worked, which was awesome, was very small. There were like 5 of us. And I had been used to having a large circle of friends. And so all of a sudden, you know, I only really knew 5 people. And and it was so brown. When I went to Southern California, I went to college in North Carolina, and it's green and lush, you know, in the southeast. And then I moved to, you know, brown Southern California where there's no seasons. I grew to love it because it took a lot to get me to leave. But so in 2006, one of my coworkers said, "You've got to check out this pizza place." I went there the other night, and it was like filled with ukulele players and people dancing hula. And I'm like, "What? Let's go. That sounds crazy." And we went, and it was a completely life-changing experience for me. I had played classical violin from when I was 6 till I graduated high school, and I quit playing music completely. And I had forgotten how much I missed playing music until I was there and I heard this amazing music. Everyone was so kind. And it was so amazing to be in such a welcoming and wonderful community of folks that I just had to start playing. And as soon as I picked up the uke, I started doing group classes. The guy who ran that uke club did group classes at a local community college, and I just took off from there. And I always loved jazz and was intimidated by it. And so then I immediately started going into jazz ukulele because it wasn't as intimidating on that instrument. So, and that was kind of how I got into not only the uke, but also playing jazz ukulele as well. And I haven't looked back. It's a wonderful instrument, and all of a sudden, you know, one of the things we love about it is it's such a social instrument. And so, hi, Baba. And so you get so many lifelong friends. I mean, Craig and I, we are together as a couple. We have this gentleman. We have the ukulele to thank for it. I mean, that was one of the reasons why to us the trying to support and help our friends in the community was so important to us when the pandemic hit, because the uke has given us so much, and we wanted to make sure that we found a way to give back. And I hope his screaming isn't too much, Marcus. He's just so happy. So that's how I got into the uke.
Oh, that's nice.
Very cool. And how about for you, Neal? What got you started?
Well, you know, I grew up in Hawaii, and you know, everybody plays. Just kidding.
The normal.
It's just normal. No, I started off when I was 9. Yeah, in school, actually. Yeah, in school, and so that was 4th grade, and just fell in love with it. You know, we would kind of in the morning time sing Hawaii Pono'i and Hawaii Aloha, right after, you know, saying the what you call you know, our morning, you know, chores and duties, you know, of the classroom and stuff like that. So, but yeah, just instantly loved it, and then started taking after school classes, and you know, from there it was really nice because I started taking private lessons from, you know, a guy that used to come to the school after school named Ryan Tanaka, and I found out that later on that he was taking lessons or had taken lessons from another instructor named Rama Camarillo on Maui. Kind of he's a bit of an institution, so to say, in Hawaii with the teaching, including his brothers, one on Kauai and then one on Big Island. But it was really cool because they kind of played like, as a lot of people now will say, kind of the just press style, kind of like an older style of learning where, you know, basically there was like 40 of us in the classroom, and, you know, we would sit there and our teacher would play like a phrase and then the whole class would repeat. But the thing that's really amazing about that is that after 2 years, I walked away with like 40 something different arrangements that like I use to this day and teach to this day even too, because they're just solid. And it's crazy how you know, I'll think of these songs that I haven't played in years, and all of a sudden it's like it still just falls out of the fingers. Like I forget the chord progression, but I know it's, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just kind of fell in love with there and just kept going. So here we are today.
Neal, with that, my teacher, it was Nothing was written down. It was just,
Right.
okay, you play this. Okay, you go. No, that's not right. Listen again.
Hmm.
You go.
Right.
And your ear gets really good
This is
with
true.
that kind of teaching.
This is true. And that's the thing that I, looking back, that I'm still super thankful for. Is that like now when I play music, I start here and then I go to other forms. So either if it's written, or well, that's the main one. But yeah, I will say that it did make it a little bit difficult later on trying to learn how to read, and I'm still to this day working on my reading. I know, Cameron. No, that's how I feel about it too.
Sorry.
It takes me forever, but there's pros and cons, I should say. I guess that's what I need to say.
But I do think that's what kind of ties the three of us together, though, is that, yeah, we love performing, right? But it's like we all love to teach as well. And that was a big kind of reason, I think, why we all got along really quickly, too. Because it was more than just us being front and center.
Yeah.
And we loved to see what other people could do with the instrument. We loved giving them a chance to experience the same joy and love that we have for it, so I think that's why we were so easy to work together. It just is cake, especially when we sat on each other's workshops for the first time, seeing how so many things were interconnected, and yeah, it was awesome.
Oh yeah. That's
Very cool.
yeah. I just echo all of those sentiments, Craig. I mean, that's the thing, especially being in this realm as a teaching artist, right? Oftentimes we
Yeah.
meet people who are either or,
Yeah.
and so it's not, I'm not knocking anybody down or anything like that, but just in the sake of like, I care just as much about teaching as I do about my own work, and so it's just it is the word that always comes to mind is refreshing to work with you folks, and I just absolutely love it. Yeah,
Oh.
because of that.
We find it refreshing to work with you too, Neal.
Hey. Okay, guys. Oh, stop it.
Well, if you're up for it, we've got a couple questions that have come through to do with actual like technique and that sort of thing. So
nice.
I'll just start running down the list here. And sorry if I miss anybody's questions, but the first one that I see is this one here. Is reentrant G tuning a Hawaiian thing? As ukulele becomes more popular globally, do you think low G will become more prevalent? And is that offensive or disrespectful to the Hawaiian tradition?
Rick, that is a fantastic
That's a great-
question.
Yeah,
that
that's really well worded.
it is just, the easy answer is just play high G.
No, that is not the easy answer.
No, there's so many different rules there's so many different schools of thought on this, and for me, I tease a lot of low G players, but when it comes down to it, there are some things you can do on the high G that you can't do on the low G. There's some things you can do on the low G that you can't do with the high G, and that particular style is where people are going to gravitate towards. You can still play Hawaiian music on low G. Look at Otasani, look at Herboto Jr., look at Brian Tolentino, fantastic low G players that play beautiful Hawaiian music. And then I have my one buddy in the chat when Jake comes on, he's like, "Oh, high G, team high G," I'm like, "Yes." and again, the low G, if you when you listen to Neal play, he utilizes that low G in a way that doesn't make it sound like a guitar. That's my pet peeve, is that you'll see a lot of guitarists come in and play the ukulele with the low G as a guitar, and that's, and that to me, that's my only pet peeve with it. But there's so many incredible artists who still make the instrument sound like an ukulele with that low G. To me, a lot of my heroes growing up had that high G, so for me, that's my own connection, where a lot of the music I listen to utilize that high G, so that's what I grew up with, that's what I relate to, that's what I hear in my head when I think of that reentrant tuning. And also that I do think that reentrant tuning is one of the most unique things about the ukulele when it's tuned that way. But there's no, when it comes down to it, there really is no right or wrong on this matter. I think it's just we like to rub each other and tease each other a little bit.
And on top of that too, there's more than one way to tune the uke.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
our friend Benny Chong, and also we play reentrant baritone tuning, DGBE.
Which is that guy.
Oh yeah, which is the uke I'm playing,
Compared to high G.
right? So you have ukes tuned that way. You have baritone ukes, which is DGBE with a low D. James Hill does all kinds of different tunings. He does D tuning. There's also one that he calls bebe tuning, which is BEBE.
Yeah.
So I mean, you can change up your tunings, and in regards to, you know, is it offensive to the
Nah.
culture? No, a lot of it is, you know, just being mindful and your intent with your music.
Ooh, and I agree with Jack in the chat about
You know-
Kimo Hasi being a great proponent of low G.
Oh
as
yeah,
well.
Kimo Hasi's a great low G
Yeah,
good.
performer. But it's one of those. But to go back to the culture thing, it's a, you know, your intent is very important with your music. If your intention is to poke fun at Hawaiian music, that would be offensive. But if you are trying to be as respectful as possible and maybe have a few missteps in your pronunciation, but you're really working really hard, that's, you know, that's sort of the main thing, is just make sure your intent is there and that you have really done your homework if you're trying to do Hawaiian style music.
I agree. I got, you know, the thing, I know you mentioned that before in one of the Ukulele Friends panels too, and that just sums it up, I think, perfectly. The word intent, yeah. You know, and you know, there is a small, I mean, relative to like the music scene that maybe, let's just say, I mean, just even say internationally, right? I mean, Hawaiian music it's a small scene, right? I mean,
Yeah.
there's like fewer people, right, that are playing it, and it's, you know, it's a tradition that I think needs to be, or should be cultivated, I should say,
Yes.
in a way that's respectful to the people who are, you know, living it, you know,
Yeah.
and whatnot. And it's beautiful. That's the thing. It's just like a beautiful culture, and like the people are beautiful too. And so if you just like spend some, like, take a moment just to listen to what people have to say, it's crazy. It's crazy, you know. And then you're doing it right too. I mean, whatever right, but you know what I mean. You know?
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Awesome.
Excellent question.
Yeah, great question. Great question.
Really great.
Love it.
Yeah. There's quite a few here, and I don't know if we have time for all of them, but maybe we could sort of just get like a roundtable opinion on a couple of these things. There's questions, first of all, asking what's a good way to get into improvising? And secondarily, to do with somebody noticed, Neal, that you were strumming with your thumb and asked, is there a time you prefer to use your index to strum? So maybe if you could all just sort of give your opinions on where you'd weigh in on the strumming thing.
Oh, yeah. Oh boy. So, I love talking about this kind of stuff. So yeah, I definitely go back and forth, and you know what it really is when I'm thinking about it. Well, speaking of which, I talked about earlier about tone. Yeah. There's what I like to try to create as much as possible are dimensions on the ukulele, or dimensions in songs, like extra layers, right? So if we can create like a background layer, so to say, to a, you know, something that might be in the foreground, like our subject, that helps. So the thumb, with it having, you know, less of an attack, you know, is kind of a little bit softer, which sits nicely in the back. And then if you move over to nails after that, then it punches, yeah, a little bit more. So that way you can have a little bit of extra dimension to work with. So think about what's in your foreground and what's in your background, and how you can treat that with your different surfaces of your hand, which is kind of
We always tell people to be as versatile as possible. Right? So you'll notice that a lot of times you might see me, if I'm comping, I'll actually pick everything. If I'm trying to get really crisp, clean. And then, of course, that warm tone with the fat part of the thumb. Versus if I was to use my index. That's if I'm wanting it to cut through and I'm using the nail face, right? Like what Neal was talking about. He did single notes, but that also works with strumming too. And it's good to be able to strum with multiple digits and being able to pick with multiple digits if you can as well. It just means that you can have more versatility in how you play.
Yeah, all of the drills that all your instructors say to practice with different fingers and all that, it all comes together when you want to have a different sound. Because if you have only just one way of strumming, that's it. That you can only, it's like having a certain range in your voice. If you can only sing between like 3 different, notes, it's going to get boring really fast, right? So same thing here. That to add to what everyone's been saying, it adds texture, it adds dynamics, it adds just almost a different instrumentation of the ukulele, so that as you see Neal going between strumming and picking, it sounds like you're playing more than one instrument. There's so many ways to manipulate that sound, just like you do with your own vocal cords. You can talk with a demanding voice or a timid and you can make it sound like a question. There's so many different inflections you can do with your vocals that you can apply the same exact kind of way with how you strum or pluck your ukulele. So always think of it as that language, and the more range you have, the more things you can mix and match from, the more not only versatile you'll be, but that's how you create your own sound, your own style, is being able to manipulate that sound in the way that you see fit.
Yeah.
Nice.
And also, if you hear random banging, that's Cameron playing with toys. I'm sorry. I can't totally control that. But
gonna sample
and
it.
also to add to that, I love talking about how music is a language. And so when you've got different strumming patterns or different picking, those are different parts of your vocabulary, just the way that chords are, and you want to be able to create more complex sentences. When you first learn the uke with, C, F, and G, for example, that's like saying C spot run. And then, you can fancy it up with substitution chords or playing in another place on the instrument, and all of a sudden you have, look at that spotted dog run, right? So having as much vocabulary as possible will help you get across whatever the message is you're trying to do with your music.
I think that ties into improvisation too, right? Like having all of that versatility at your fingertips when you want it, or or working on it to strive towards a goal. So that if you that's always been a large goal for me, was like, I want to play what's in here, because there's certain little things that you hear, and I'm not saying it's gonna be Rachmaninoff every time, but sometimes I'm just like do da 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 da, kind of like this little melody, and then maybe we can let it try to come out of our fingers, and it's and the more that you can create that connection, so that it's a faster response. It's just kind of fun to do. I think that's a great way to start improvising. Just kind of sing the stuff you're playing. Or of course,
Yes.
if it doesn't work one way, go the other way too. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Well, and to add on to that too, my kind of take on improvising is, there's a couple things I bring up, like, here are your safe notes. Here are things that I know will work, and keep the variables small. Like if you're playing, in a progression in C, you can play around with the scale notes, and then limit yourself. Say, okay, I'll try to, stay within these 5 notes and see what I can do, or I'll try on these certain beats to create something, or to land on the root of the chord you're playing in. But there's certain key things that you can use as a starting point to just start playing. But at a certain point, there is a transition, like Neal mentioned. The transition is just as if you're to hum over the chords with your vocals. That's the exact same thing we're doing with the uke, but a lot of people can't just hear what they hear in their head and then know exactly what note that C note is. So part of that is that connection. Part of that is that transition to not only be creative in the notes that you choose, but to be so fluent with your instrument, to have it be this part of your extension of your body that you can then just talk with your ukulele and know exactly what note is going to happen when you play that note, exactly where you're going with it, just as if you're answering a question vocally. So I think there's like Neal said, there's layers to get to that point, and there's starting off is just to kind of stay in that safe zone and get used to kind of utilizing notes that we know will be safe and will work, but then taking that next step further and really creating what you hear and translating that with your instrument. So that to me is the part that a lot of people don't give enough time and effort into really doing to get to that point. But I think that there's a lot of different ways to kind of approach it like that.
Yeah.
Very good advice. Thank you. Thank you all for your insight there. We've got a couple more questions, but one just came in from Kathy. And I think this is pertinent to a lot of players out there, that when you're working really hard and you just hit that plateau and you feel like you're not able to break through it. Here's their question. I find myself to be in a period of extreme frustration. No matter how much I practice 1 to 3 hours a day, I don't seem to advance very much. Any words of advice or encouragement?
Well, this is going to sound odd, but stop practicing for a couple of days. Because I find sometimes when I'm at a plateau, I get so frustrated, all I can focus on is, I'm not doing better. So sometimes taking a very short break and then coming back to it with fresh eyes and hands is helpful. Also, I find a lot of inspiration listening to music. So during that break, I'll actually listen to a bunch of music that just makes me feel good.
Mm-hmm.
And that will sort of help re-inspire and help me kind of get back into that groove again. I know it sounds weird to be like, don't practice, but just for a short time. Also, I find that it's hard to do right now, but getting together with friends and just playing some music also is helpful. I don't know if we can't really do that at the moment, but that helps re-inspire
Well,
me.
I'm gonna quote one of our artist work students. Actually, one of the things that she mentioned that she absolutely loved about the video exchange kind of program with Artist Works was that she was starting to record herself for the first time, and I recommended, even if it's not for a video exchange, keep practicing and record yourself, and you'll start to see the things that you need to work on, whether it's timing or a certain transition. Sometimes when we're so focused on trying to do something, we lose track of the bigger picture. We don't realize we're doing other things, but utilizing your cell phone video camera now and using that as a tool to look back and see what needs to be worked on is going to be an incredible tool. And not only that, always think about if you don't feel like you're progressing. To me, 3 hours of practicing that isn't going to help. That means there's something else that might be like a mental block that's happening. Whether if it's like, for example, a hard part in a bridge, for example, and I would usually ask, how do you practice? Well, I start from the beginning, I play, and when I get to the bridge, I always screw up. Just focus on the bridge, and that's all you do for like 30 minutes is just play through that section that's giving you trouble or that transition that's giving you trouble. But you can always kind of break things down to the exact thing that you feel you're kind of stumbling upon, and being able to create a focus around that, to me, is always going to be the most beneficial. Instead of just saying, I'm just going to play through these songs 30 times, you're not necessarily working on the parts that need the most help. And so for me, I love, again, finding those spots where I know I need to just sit. And I could be in front of the TV and it could just be, even though I screwed this up earlier. And that's all I would do, just, and until I can't get it wrong, and then I know I can move on to something else. But, and a lot of times too, when we start pushing out and we get so excited about learning and we want to get to that place, and I want to work on these 18 songs. and again, you become kind of good at all of them instead of being like really good at them one at a time, you know, and adding to your repertoire. I love having that focus and really honing things in instead of spreading yourself too thin, because there could be an enormous amount of extra work if you try to do too many things at once, if that makes sense.
Great
Yeah.
advice.
My
Yeah.
goodness, yeah. So good. I mean, it's funny because I like as soon as the question came up, I said, okay, this is exactly what I would say, and you guys just said all of it, which is crazy. I mean, like literally. I mean, I can't agree more. I mean, like literally I mean, like, stop playing, you know, and like
Yeah.
that's one of the things that I do,
Mm.
you know, like if it becomes a chore, if it starts to, especially if you're getting extremely frustrated, then take a break, definitely.
Mm.
And slowing down, like what Craig is saying, you know,
Yep.
adjust your goals, adjust your sails as the wind changes, right? So, you know, one thing at a time. I'm sorry that you feel that way, Kathy. I know that
Yes.
feeling. I'm sorry you feel that way.
It's
But-
temporary
I think
though.
we
Just
all
But
stick with
yes,
it.
thank you, Marcus. Yes, oh, it's there, sorry. Yes, it's temporary. It's
This
temporary.
too shall pass.
Well,
Yes.
and one thing I wanted to mention too is like a lot of people think, you know, as you get better and better and your goals change and you're increasing your technique and skills, it's this linear line, right? It's totally not. It's totally not.
It's
Sometimes
like,
you go up and then
And then
you
you go
get
down.
stuck a little bit and you focus on other things. But sometimes you also realize maybe, oh, my bar chords aren't as clean as I thought they were. So you go back a little bit.
Yeah.
And then you move forward again. And sometimes you have to circle around, and that's okay. Some of the best musicians on the planet go backwards once in a while to kind of hone in on their foundation, to work on certain things that we take for granted. And it's okay. Everyone always, you know, says, oh, I don't want to move backwards. Or, you know, sometimes you do, you know, like Neal says, slow down and revisit things, because chances are, especially on some of these harder things that you see us doing, it's more of a foundation issue than anything else, and just working that out. And sometimes we realize we're grabbing way too hard, and that's preventing us from getting like a clean slide or getting that transition cleaner. So
Yeah.
it's the little things that really can make a difference.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, we've almost come to the end of our time here, and I just want to thank everybody for participating. Thank you so much for your comments and questions. It's great to have all of you here, and of course, thank you, Craig, Sarah, and Neal for being here. It's been a lot of fun. I think it would be best to end with some really great music. What do you think?
Sure, we can give it a shot. See if I can do it.
You got three
Do you wanna
arms,
Howie Hula?
Sarah?
Let's try that. Let's see if he'll be good. Let's see if he'll
Cool.
hang with that. You ready, Bubba? Let's play. Let me take these off. When I hear the strains of that sweet harmony stealing from far off guitar and echo swish of rain as it sweeps down the valley. I hear the song of wind as it sighs through the trees. I hear the crash of waves on the rocks and the beaches. I hear the hissing surf and the boom of the sea. Love to dance. I love to dance and sing of the chants of Hawaii. And from a joyful heart sing aloha to you. In every note I tell of the spell of my eyes. For then I know that you will be in love with them too. For then I know that you will be in love with them too. No. Good job, Baba.
No, that's so nice.
Beautiful. Thank you
He
so
loves
much.
music.
All right. Well, thank you all for being here. Great to see all of you. This is Artistworks signing out. And for anyone that just dropped in or is not familiar, you can learn directly from Craig, Chee, and Sarah Maisel at artistworks.com. And you can actually exchange videos with them and get personal feedback that way. So check it out. There's a discount code on the scroll. So if you missed it, just rewind a little bit and you'll have it there. So and thank you so much for joining us today, Neal.
My pleasure.
Yes.
My pleasure. Anytime.
Thank
Checking
you
in
so
from
much.
Seattle.
Yes,
All
and,
right.
and you know, and look out for Neal for joining us on future events, but also check out his Monday live streams as well.
Yes.
They're awesome.
Hey.
Very cool.
I'll
Thank
see
you,
you there.
everybody. Goodbye.
Thanks.
Bye.